Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Silmarillion Film Project. This is session number 8 in season number 8, and today we continue pre-production. I'm joined, as always, as I have been all season, by Nick Palazzo and Marie Prosser and Alana Mushin from our writer's room. And today we're continuing our pre-production discussions, and we are going to be considering the Doriath story. So we've been doing Dorloman. We've been thinking about, last time we were thinking about the woodmen and refugees and the brigands, right? That Turin ends up leading, and really kind of trying to figure out that situation today. We turn back to elves. We've been thinking about humans for several sessions now. And while on the one hand we have a pretty good sense of the general shape of the Doriath story and its primary story beats within Turin's story particularly, there are a number of particular questions to fill out beyond what Tolkien says in the text, in no small part because we need to pick up on things that we have done in previous seasons with the Doriath characters and the Doriath situation as well. So we got to keep that stuff in mind and make sure that we're bringing things through. Before we get too deep in that, quick announcements. We've got a whole bunch of events coming up soon. I would draw particular attention, of course, to Mythmoot, June 25th through 28th. We are beginning to approach Mythmoot. That is getting exciting. I hope you can join us. The Mythmoot in Leesburg, Virginia is our big event of the year. Always look forward to that. And then, much more immediately, Sunshine Moot, the day after tomorrow. So I am heading down to Orlando, Florida tomorrow for Sunshine Moot on Saturday. And this Sunshine Moot is going to be a really interesting one because we're doing something totally unorthodox at Sunshine Moot this year. Instead of doing presentations and papers and things like that, we're going to do one activity, big discussion activity all day long, where we're going to be, which is also kind of an experiment. We're going to be doing this sort of like immersive experience of and experiment in oral transmission. So we're going to be dividing up into groups, and we are going to be seeing how oral transmission of stories happens and what inhibits it and what it brings. It's going to be really, really fun. So it's this whole thing that we're going to be doing all day long, which is going to be really interesting. So we'll be thinking a lot about storytelling and oral transmission. So yeah,
like an intricate game of telephone.
Yeah, though, see, like, the problem with telephone, like, so people often use that metaphor, right, when thinking about oral transmission, but there's a big difference between oral transmission in an oral culture and a game of telephone. Namely, people are paying attention, right?
Yes.
It's like the biggest difference, right?
Yes.
And so yeah, that's exactly kind of the thing that we're going to be testing, right? Because it's not just a sort of like the game of telephone normally features, like maximally flawed transmission, right, from one to the next. And instead we're going to be, looking at like, ways and mechanisms, trying to work out how do we transmit this as best we possibly can. Anyway, it's going to be pretty cool. So that is what is happening at Sunshine Moot.
That was the topic of my master's.
Sorry?
That was the topic of my master's thesis.
Right, oral transmission? Yeah, yes, yes. Yeah.
Shocking no one.
Right. Yeah. No, it's going to be great fun. It's going to be great fun. So we will see how that fun exercise goes. We have many other moots coming up, as you can see, and I'll talk about them more as they approach. There's a bunch more moots in this fall is going to be. There's a lot of moots this coming fall. So there's some things still not fully confirmed with several of them. So that's why the dates haven't been posted yet. But whole bunch of moots coming down the pike next in the next season, in the second half of the year. Meantime, This time, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the map because it's Doriath. And so this is less geographical. The relationship with Dimbar is kind of interesting. And that's something that I kind of want to think about. Like, one of the things that Tolkien never really discusses is, like, whom exactly are they fighting and why? Orcs, obviously, but, like, why are the orcs in Dimbar and what's happening there? Like, what's the goal there? And why even, like, you've got the girdle, like, why be out on the marches at all? Anyway, so these are things that we should discuss when we think about Beleg and Turin and making sure that we're understanding exactly what's going on there. But apart from that, we may refer back to the map, but I'm not going to fixate on the map this time. The general pacing. So just a quick review of the primary story. As I said, most of our story beats are predetermined by Tolkien's own writings, either in the published Silmarillion or more fully in the Children of Hurin. So the first, of course, is going to be Turin's arrival in Doriath and Thingol's acceptance of him as his ward, right? And right now, we've been thinking about that as happening probably at the end of episode 2 of the season. Episode 3, Turin is growing up in Doriath. So this is Turin and Nellis, right? Playing together. So we don't have any, like, necessarily certain, like, plot elements there, but this is, episode 3 is Turin's childhood in Doriath. Episode 4 is when Turin now becomes a late teenager and goes off to fight with Beleg and Dimbar. Episode 5 is his return from Dimbar to Doriath when he has the altercation with Cyros and mars his face with the golden cup. And then, of course, fights him to the death after being ambushed by him in the woods. In episode 6, Turin's going to be arriving with the outlaw band, and at the same time, we're going to have Turin's trial in absentia back in Doriath with Nellis's testimony. And then, of course, episode 7 is when Beleg is going to set off from Doriath to find Turin. He's going to return. Because Turin's not going to come back with him, so Beleg is going to go back to Doriath, and then Beleg is going to leave Doriath permanently for the last time to go hang out with Turin. And then, of course, we're going to be from that point when Beleg leaves Doriath for the second time, we are probably not going to see Doriath again until Morwen and Nienor arrive, and we're looking at that happening probably at the very end of the season, like one of the culminating things, which we might not even cover that much, just kind of show them appearing, right? I don't know how much time we're likely to give them.
We definitely will show Morwen and Nienor leaving Dorloman, and if that happens in episode 12, then in episode 13 we'd have to show what happened to them. If that itself, the leaving doesn't happen until episode 13, then we'll have to decide there.
Yeah.
The other question is, as we discuss the stories, if there's any thing that we want to happen in Doriath without Turin or Beleg being there, like with the other characters, we could have that as a very minor background plot in an episode.
Yeah, like a C plot somewhere.
If we don't need it, though, you're right, we won't go back. Right, so there could be a scene in Doriath in the later part of the season, but only if we need it. If we don't need it, then we won't be there.
Right. Now, of course, into the midst of these policies comes Galadriel, who is not in the main storyline of the Children of Hurin, but is in Doriath this season, we have decided. Once again, psychologically recuperating from yet another traumatic event, namely the disastrous end of her recruitment of the Easterlings for the Nirnaeth Arnoediad. And, of course, her reunion with Celeborn at the same time. So, thinking about the Galadriel plot, of course, is something that we need to do. We haven't really thought through what Galadriel's going to be doing this season and where she's going to be. Where she's going to be, like, in her headspace this season and what she's going to be planning and doing. that is the number one thing that I see as the potential return, like, to Doriath for a C plot as we go to kind of keep touch with Galadriel. Because we're getting into we're really well beyond the edge of the map now as far as Galadriel's involvement in the first stage. Sending her off to the Easterlings was already our first step of Galadriel well beyond the map, right? And but now we still have a good deal more first stage to go. But let's not begin with Galadriel, because if we do, there's always the chance that we won't return to the rest of it. So let's talk about the primary core plot items that we know that we need to do. Okay. We haven't really spent much time in Doriath for a while. We've visited it. And of course, the last we were in Doriath really was Beren and Luthien, right? Back in episode 6 or season 6.
Right. So the events of season 6 obviously are pretty impactful in Doriath, but we haven't really seen a lot with that yet. Obviously, we saw by the end of that season, Thingol was inviting humans from Brethil to come to his daughter's wedding. So, like, things had changed in Doriath.
Right.
But we haven't spent enough time there since then to see what that looks like now. So we're reacting to both season 6 and season 7 now when we return to Doriath.
And it's a kind of challenge, because for the elves of Doriath, virtually no time has passed since Beren and Luthien departed. Right. And the viewers have had an entire season.
Yes.
Yes. So it would still be kind of raw and present, and like, this is what's just happened to us, I imagine, in Doriath.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, that still has to be far more impactful to them than the Nirnaeth, right? Even though the Nirnaeth is a huge event for the continent, least so in Doriath, frankly. I mean, there's nowhere that's less impacted by the Nirnaeth than Doriath. They barely even had any people there, and most of those that they had survived. So, it's the tears are fewer in Doriath than anywhere else in Beleriand here. Or
if they're tears, they're shedding them for the loss of Luthien.
Right, exactly. They're still shedding their tears for Luthien far more than they are for everything else in the Nirnaeth. Not that they're going to be untouched by it, of course. I don't want to make it sound like they're either oblivious or totally heartless. But again, they have not been invited. It has not touched them in the same way that it's touched everybody else. Even in Nargothrond, it's touched more than it has in Doriath. And the last thing we did get from Doriath, the one involvement of Doriath in season 7 was basically saying no to the Union of Mithros, which was, on the one hand, par for the course. I mean, sort of normal procedure for Thingol. On the other hand, a totally unsurprising response by him to ally with the Sons of Feanor after the whole Luthien situation. The whole Curufin and Celegorm intervention there. However, one other thing that obviously we have to think about with the Beren and Luthien story is the Silmaril as well. Because the Silmaril is still being held by Thingol. It's not yet been set into the Nauglamir, and therefore not yet been given to Luthien in the Nauglamir. So it's not going to be until it's set in the Nauglamir that it's given to Luthien. So Thingol himself still has the solitary Silmaril in his keeping, as it was given to him, by Beren before he died, right? And what's the impact of that? Right. And how are we going to handle the sort of the stages of things? Because we need to be thinking about Thingol's trajectory fairly carefully here, right? We're not in the final stages, but we're in the ramp up, right, to the final stages of Thingol's trajectory.
Exactly. Like how Thingol behaves in this season should match with everything that came so far, but be setting us towards where we need to go. And I know that Thingol does a lot of things that are not particularly, you know, compliment worthy, but his treatment of Turin is one of his better
Yes.
looks.
Yes.
So this is our last chance to show Thingol at his best.
Yeah, I agree. I think that my impulse is to depict Thingol, like have this be the last good moment for Thingol, right? Show him at his possibly even the best he's ever been, because the positive change post Baron, and I agree, like the acceptance of Turin, could really show Thingol to be at his most admirable ever, potentially, almost
And-
ever.
The showing up of Turin so soon after Beren and Luthien have departed, you know, it makes sense that he's kind of feeling warm towards the kin of Beren at this time. I was thinking about the Silmaril. How much do we want to present the Silmaril as a potentially corrupting influence? Because the Silmarils themselves, as you often say, are not
Nothing wrong with
themselves are corrupting.
Silmarils.
You know, they're not evil. And
Yeah,
they're
they're not
and
evil.
they're holy jewels. And I was just thinking, like, you know, we don't. I wouldn't want to present them as cursed or you
No.
know, in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is really our first.
So,
Yeah, this is really our first chance to show somebody possessing a Silmaril. Right? It's been Fëanor and Morgoth, and that's it so far. Right? And there is a kind of temptation, I think, Ilana, even an unconscious temptation, to kind of depict somebody holding a Silmaril as if they're holding the Ring of Power.
Yeah.
Right? To give a parallel kind of like to imagine Thingol sneaking into a back room and being like, my precious, with
Yeah.
the Silmaril, right? And I don't
that was
think.
Fëanor's attitude toward it, but that was because of Fëanor's own personality, not because of the Silmarils. I would
Right.
suggest.
Right. So I do think that a strong possessiveness does tend to cultivate in people who possess Silmarils based on what they are. I don't think that Thingol is 100% not my precious about this because of how it's all going to play out later. However, the Silmaril's not evil.
No, the Silmaril's not evil, and it's
if
not
it's on
corruptive.
display somewhere, the light that it gives out is beautiful, and and what it brings to his kingdom should be good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It should
think
be wholesome.
being on display is a good way of showing that he's not being possessive of the light. He's not being.
He should certainly not have it in a casket in his back room.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think
But-
that we are asked to make some comparisons. I mean, the very fact that we have the War of the Rings and the War of the Jewels,
Right.
like, there's some comparison
Yep.
being drawn for sure. One thing that just occurred to me is, you know, Thingol is without his daughter, who is the most beautiful. Not mortal. What is the word
Elf.
we use? She's not an elf.
Child of
This-
Iluvatar.
She's
Child
not
of
even a
Iluvatar.
yeah, child of Iluvatar. But there's a particular
Incarnate.
incarnate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Incarnate being in the world.
Yeah.
What if, over time, and this could even be sort of like sprinkled into this season, if he starts talking to the Silmaril when he's really trying to talk to Luthien.
So you're thinking of him like actually identifying in some ways the Silmaril with Luthien.
Yeah, I mean, this is a half baked idea for sure,
Uh-huh.
but
Doesn't Tolkien say, like, when Maedhros sends the message to hand over the Silmaril, that one of Thingol's big motivations for not handing it over is what what Beren and Luthien sacrificed to get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So it is for him bound up in that rather than this is a pretty jewel that I'm
Yes.
possessing.
It sounds slighting to say it has sentimental value, but yes, it has a significant symbolic. It has weight for him, which in its way rivals the weight that it has for the Sons of Fëanor, right?
well,
it's
it
not the same kind of
represents her.
weight, but yeah.
It represents like it's an eternal it's an eternal reminder
Yes.
of her in a way that she is not going to be.
It's
You know?
also an eternal reminder for him. If this is his high point of humility,
Yes.
this is an eternal reminder of him that he set that quest.
Yes.
Yes.
That,
Yes.
that was him. And maybe he's feeling something of that at this moment.
Yes. It symbolizes clearly the sufferings and sacrifices of Baron and Luthien,
Yes.
which, as you say, Alana, are his fault, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and perhaps he is in fact mindful of that right now. This is also, I mean, so another important dynamic to remember, Luthien isn't dead yet,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
right? So
But to
She's
him,
mortal and not there.
she's mortal
yeah,
and
to him,
absent.
she kind of is. Like, think about the way
Yeah.
that we had Galadriel talking to Luthien at their wedding.
Hmm.
Right. Yep. No, I agree. I'm not saying that but what I am saying
She
is
might as well be.
I think that I think that we have to reserve he's going to be in a significantly different headspace
Sure.
when she actually dies.
Well, he's gonna
Whoa. He's
die
No,
first.
like this.
Yeah.
Of course. Yes, he is.
He's-
Sorry.
yeah.
Right. Well, he will
Right.
certainly be in a
But,
different
okay.
headspace at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. So to point this out, this is like a human getting a terminal diagnosis
Right.
where
Yes.
you know the illness is going to end in death, so you know this person isn't going to last much longer.
Right.
You yourself could die in a car crash before they ever die of the terminal illness,
In fact, he will.
but
Right.
that's what I'm saying. Thingol is going to die in a, well, some kind of crash.
In a collision.
Yeah, there's a. He's gonna die suddenly,
Right.
whereas Luthien will last her natural life, but there's a time limit on that now. So it's like the feeling you get when you hear that someone has this diagnosis, where you know that their days are numbered, even though in reality all of our days are numbered.
Right. Right. Yes. If he's in a good place right now, if he is, if what we're going to show is the most humble Thingol ever, what is going to change? Where does the change come? And how
How
much
old
does
is
it
Luthien
change?
right now?
How old is Luthien?
Yeah.
Thousands of years.
No. In her human lifespan, because she comes back as an adult human, right? But like presumably like a 22-year-old human, right?
Maybe.
Somewhere in, like that.
Somewhere in her 20s to early 30s, somewhere
Right.
in that range.
So if she were to return to Doriath for a visit, and were visibly older,
Mm.
like that makes it real. You know,
Right.
like before it was just theoretical. Like, I understand that she's going to grow old and die, and that's awful and that hurts me. But what Melian kind of like immediately emotionally grasped when she first showed up and was mortal.
So, are you suggesting a bit of active denial on Thingol's part?
Yeah.
Essentially?
I mean, I would be for
Right.
sure.
Right.
Like until he sees
I'm
it, it's
like
not
that now.
real.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
fair.
Right.
Yeah, so there's a few things. Like Tolkien gives us the idea that the horde of Nargothrond is cursed by Glaurung, and so the Noglamir being flung at
Meme.
Thingol's feet by her, and and Meme. Right. So like there's curses going on.
There's curses going
So
on. Yeah.
by the time Thingol is getting Noglamir plus Silmaril, and I realize that's only one version of the story, but
Right.
that concept of you've invited a curse into your house as well as inviting the Silmaril into your house, and now bad things are going to happen.
Right.
I'm not saying we have to lean too heavily on that, because I think it should be a character-based evolution, not a you got cursed and now you're dead.
No, not just a pure like he's cursed against his will and through no choice of his own makes this shift. But I agree, that's a really important point, that the whole dragon sickness element of corruption is the part that comes after, post Glaurung/meme and the cursing, and I think that we should, as Tolkien does, kind of leave it open to question to what extent it's his own choices and to what extent it's the curse operating on him. But it is another reason why I think it's important for us to show, yes, he values the Silmaril. He may even be fixated on the Silmaril in some ways, but it isn't that dragon sickness, ring obsession, my precious thing yet. Yeah.
He's also kind of weirdly bound up in the doom of Mandos by engaging with the oath. You know, like, he's not like the doom of Mandos wasn't talking about him, but by saying, no, this is mine.
Now he's part of all that.
Right.
Now
he's certainly a target for it now. There's no question about that. For sure. Yeah.
Melian, Melian's there.
Right.
And she was the one who, I mean, in the text, she's the one who counsels him to give the Silmaril to the Feanorians, and he refuses to. So is she going to be some kind of influence on him at this point, or like does she have a role, or is she just like, this is I'm not saying anything at this stage because it's up to you guys to work this out?
Maybe. Okay, what about this? Operating on the theory that this is Thingol at his best, right? In this season, we're showing Thingol at his best. Then that logically should also correlate with his most receptive to Melian, right?
He has to listen to her about something in this season.
Yeah. But the hard thing is, Alana, as you point out, not the most important thing, right? Like, so we could, if we show him being more receptive to, again, his newfound humility, right? Being more receptive to Melian's guidance than he was previously, and yet show the seeds of the tragedy to come are still sown in the fact that he does resist the one thing. He won't. She counsels him to give back the Silmaril, or she has counseled him by this time to give back the Silmaril.
And maybe
he won't.
Maybe this is actually a struggle for him. He's like he knows that part of him knows he should do that, but he can't.
He can't.
And
So the part where we want him to be not quite dragon sickness, caught up and obsessed with the ring levels of entangled with the Silmaril. He's a possessive guy to start with. His treatment of Luthien made it very clear that that was his daughter, and she needed to listen to him and stay in his realm, and his realm has a gate around it that no one can go in and out of. Like, he's a possessive guy by nature.
Yes.
And that's not necessarily 100% a bad thing, to possess your realm as the king of the realm. Like, okay, that is your job.
Right.
But there's also a personality flaw in there where it is selfish possessiveness winning out over this humility that allows things to just play out however. So he needs the Silmaril to be his because of what Luthien did. He can't let those Feanorians have it.
And I think, Nick, I wonder if this can be connected with the sort of denial that you were talking about. I mean, if he even unconsciously, or perhaps even realizes that letting the Silmaril go would be like letting Luthien go. Right? Like he can't do it. Like he can't do it.
Yeah. That's why I felt like tying it together with his possessiveness about Luthien would be useful.
Yeah.
In this circumstance.
Yeah. Because yes, he has, in a sense, he has let Luthien go. Like at the wedding, he was letting Luthien go, right? And he knows what it means in one sense, but perhaps.
Although at the wedding, I'm not sure he was, because at that stage Luthien wasn't mortal.
No, there is an additional stage of letting her go. I'm thinking just as far as like moving on from the early days of like, no, you can't have her, and I'm going to send you off to your death instead attitude. Like he's progressed beyond that. But then yes, we haven't shown him having to cope with her mortality really at all. Yeah, like that's the stage that we have yet to show.
The manifestation of it is, even though he knows Melian's right, he can't do it.
He can't do it because it would be, I mean, it's especially when flavored with the Caligorm and Curufin stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you're going to take the Silmaril, which is the fruit of the sacrifice and suffering of Beren and Luthien, and the, like, symbol of
After demanding Luthien,
what they've
Luthien
given up, right?
herself.
And you're going to give it to those guys, right? You're going to hand it over to the ones who tried to, like, rape her and marry her by force? Like, no way, right? It's almost, I mean, that idea has to be, it's almost like getting Caligorm's letter again, right? Like the idea of, I mean, it's not the same as just saying yes to Caligorm's letter the first time, but again, it's like, it's going to feel in the ballpark.
There's shades of which you can't move away from in
Yes.
diplomatic circles. You can't, once you have poisoned certain language, you can't keep using it.
Yes.
But this is a scene between Thingol and Melian, I'm thinking.
Yes, definitely.
That this, you know, this is made, and that I think that can be done with Thingol coming out as like a viewer thinking that seems actually quite reasonable, like given the situation he's in.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and the fact that he has invested the Silmaril, like, the Silmaril does have symbolic weight. Like, it is the fruit of the sacrifice and suffering of Beren and Luthien. Like, he's not wrong about that. And his desire to memorialize that, you know, again, especially if the Silmaril is somehow, like, publicly, you know, displayed.
And there could be a sense in which it's blessing. I mean, it comes across as blessing Doriath. It's
Yes.
the light of peace
Yes.
brought to Middle. You know, this is. You
Which,
know,
of course, remember, Thingol, alone of the has seen, right? So he will remember. This will be, you know, happy memories of the old days, you know, for Thingol as well. So there are lots of reasons, and not just selfish reasons. Not just selfish reasons in the sense of like, oh, it's really nice and so I want it, or even like, oh, it's blessing my land and so I desire to keep it. Like, those are perfectly legitimate, you know, desires in themselves, but by themselves they make a purely selfish motivation to keep it, right? But then when you add on to it, like, this is the, I mean, I would think, what if he's built some kind of memorial? What if there's some kind of statue or monument or something that he has erected in the middle of Menegroth to memorial? Like, it's almost like a, you know, Luthien's tomb that isn't a tomb yet, right? Something like he's erected a memorial, and the thing is that like it's even a memorial which, again, thinking of his humility, right? It could even be like contain essentially like a confession of his own complicity in this, right?
I'm thinking also, like, doesn't Tolkien say when they're at at the end of the first age, when the Silmarils are at the havens of Sirion, that they feel that it's blessing them? That's one of the things for not
They do.
giving it. So we could kind of show that sort of, I mean, amongst the elves of Doriath, that this is a feeling that they have. That this is,
and certainly, even if we don't have Thingol himself giving voice to this, the people of Doriath could definitely feel like this is their consolation. They've lost Luthien, whom they loved, right? And they know she's mortal now and is going to die, but they have the Silmaril now, and especially if the Silmaril is displayed as part of this, like, you know,
Shrine to Luthien
in the middle of it, like, it's like I mean, it's not full consolation for the loss of Luthien, but it's some consolation for the loss of Luthien. And she herself, I mean, Luthien with flowers growing where she walks, right? She was a blessing to Doriath herself, right? And now the Silmaril is giving a different, it's not the same, right? But it is some kind of consolation. And so, yes, to take that away from the people of Doriath and from Thingol personally, that's a big ask. That's really hard. Again, it's like losing Luthien a second time, almost.
So the shift then comes later on when Thingol decides to take the Silmaril out of that shrine and put it in a necklace.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Right. Good. Yes, you're right. That shows the shift. Yeah. Yeah, that's our big old red flag that things are going wrong with Thingol. Yeah.
So, if I could chart a progression here, okay, like because in season at the end of season 6, he had it kind of sitting in like a gilded cage, almost not a cage. I think it was like a glass box, if I remember. Yeah, near his throne, right? And that's fine until Luthien comes to visit, and she's like 40, 35. I don't know. I don't remember how much time has passed. We don't need to know right now. It's not important. But she's visibly older, right? Gray hairs, lines around her eyes, and it dawns on him what's like fully what's going to happen. And so he erects this monument, as you say, right? Because he's already grieving her, right? And has the Silmaril in her hand, right? Which again, I mean, and it would make the people of Doriath feel like the demand for the Silmaril is an affront to them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because they weren't going to just take it from Thingol. They're taking it from us. They're taking Luthien from us. They're taking this monument to Luthien from us. Right? Because they're also mourning her. And it's at that point that he kind of like tips and starts to want to have it in the necklace. Right? Not that, I mean, he hasn't received the Noglamir for some time after that, right? But when he does receive the Noglamir, and he's like, and it's the because we talked about it being the Valakirkia.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's a nice little spot right here, and it would make it look more symmetrical. I mean, it just makes sense, really.
No, I mean, there's lots of ways we can handle that shift, but the idea of a monument. We've used the words memorial and shrine. Neither one of those words is quite right, of course. But yet it will have the feeling of both of those things in a sense. But it's a monument. But yeah, I mean, Alana, I think you're totally right. And we can examine this more when we get to that point later on, which probably won't be until season 10, right?
So in this season, if we want to start that monument memorial thing, we can. But we can't get any further than that in this season. The thing that's going on with Luthien right now is that she is raising a young child, but her child is growing up at a mortal pace.
Yes.
So Dior should be at least 10 years old by now, probably a little bit older than that. So when Turin shows up as this 8-year-old boy, if Dior comes to visit, Dior and Turin are going to be growing up similar pace.
Right, they're like the same age.
Whereas Nellis is going to stay a young girl the whole time this is all happening. So seeing that Dior is growing up like Turin is gotta hit Thingol.
Yeah.
As, right. This is how this happens. And so it's not like having your grandchild not be the same species as you is weird.
Is weird, yes.
But that's what he gets for marrying someone who was not elf and letting his daughter marry someone who was also not an elf. This is what happens.
And of course, right, that's how you end up with a grandchild of different species from you. But also, of course, having the closest obvious analog to your grandson be Turin, right? That, I mean,
I had to bring it back to this season somehow.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, cause I'm thinking, like, in this way, if we establish the parallel between Turin and Dior, carefully there, then we can actually invite people to think his response, like when he sees Turin, A, grow up quickly, and B, screw up emphatically, right? He's got to be thinking about his grandson as well. Now, Dior is not the same, right? And he's not doing the same things and making the same decisions but I mean, it's not just brevity of life that makes humans different from elves, right?
Right.
Like their excessive freedom of will, right? You know, that we hear commented on several times. And so this is like, there's got to be a part of Thingol when I think that the moment where in the published Silmarillion, the moment when I resonate with Thingol more than any other time, is when Beleg comes back and tells him about Turin's refusal to accept the pardon, and Thingol says, "What else would he have me do?" Right? Like it's just like that moment of like helplessness where he's like, I'm you know, I can't. That realization, like he cannot compel Turin to make the right decisions, right? Like he literally has done everything that he can do for Turin for his whole life, and Turin is still going his own direction towards destruction, and Thingol can see that and can't stop it, right? And I've got to think that there's a part of Thingol which has to fear, like, is my grandson, my human grandson, going to go on this same path? Like, is this is this a taste of what I'm going to, I mean, and therefore, anyway, yeah. So it's, I like the idea of pairing the two of them together.
It's good to bring Dior in, you know, it's good to bring the childhood of Dior a little bit into our show, because when he you know, when he shows up to take over as the Lord of Doriath, like that comes out of kind of nowhere. Has he ever been there before? Like, you don't know in the text, like,
yeah.
You know, so it might be worth establishing what his history and relationship with his grandfather is, and so on.
Actually, there's been some questions. I think it's been some time since this came up about kind of explaining why Dior is named King of Doriath at all, if he's never even been there. Well, you know, it makes perfect sense that he would at least have been there, though, right? And so this would give us an opportunity to kind of like at least acquaint him with.
Okay, I have to admit something though. I kind of want to kick this can down the road a little bit, okay. and the reason I want to do that is that because there's a whole other issue here. So like Doriath is going to have a mortal king,
right?
Like it's going to become a mortal kingdom, and everyone's okay with that. Like that's weird. Like, and we need to deal with that, and I want to deal with that, but I feel like that's too much for right now. Like I don't want to. There's too much else going on. There will be time to deal with that in season 9 and 10, right? As we're working out, like that can be part of the build up to Thingol's death in season 10 or whenever. That would be season 10, right?
We don't need to worry about Thingol's heir
Successor.
until Thingol dies.
Right.
And no one thinks he's ever going to die.
Right.
So it's not an issue right now.
Yeah. For now, because I wouldn't want to distract from, because it's like, first you've got to realize, you've got to wrap your brain around the fact that Luthien is mortal now. Right. Mm-hmm. And then like the next stage, like, or part of that process, because Nick, I agree with you there. Part of that process is seeing, oh, look, she has a mortal baby and her son is mortal too. And that's going to also, like, just like Luthien's gray hairs and wrinkles, Dior's growth is going to bring it home. This is a mortal family.
They're not thinking about it as Dior's, you know, at all in terms of, but this has been the difference between, you know, like this is what Fingolfin was kind of grappling with and so on. And Turgon and so on, we've shown the elves kind of being a bit like, well, that's not our natural way of thinking about our children as heirs,
right?
In the way humans do. But I think it's good if we do establish that there is a Dior and he is growing up as like a mortal child is growing up, and then that's all we kind of need to establish about Dior at this point.
Yeah.
So Dior is similar in age to Turin. So that can only help us.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of like creating that touch point, even if we don't really do anything with it until later on. That parallel, I think, can only be fun. Like, nothing bad can come from establishing just putting in the frame of reference the fact that the two of them are similar age, and it's
Even if Thingol mentions that, like,
yeah.
when Turin shows up, that he has his grandson is the same age or something, you know.
But I think he'd have to see it to really understand what it means, right? I mean, Thingol may have processed that he has a grandson who's 8 years old, but he's not going to probably be accurately picturing what that looks like,
Yeah.
right? Unless he and Melian talk about that.
Well, and that's
Go ahead, Marie.
well that's what I think, that something about. Sorry, my connection's a little lagged. I think the part where Turin shows up as a child, 8 years old, and then he ends up being 16 and wanting to join Beleg on the marches. It's only been 8 years of living in Doriath. An elf would still be a child at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So Thingol has to acknowledge that his foster child is ready to do this more adult activity and move into that. His grandson, similarly, has grown up that much.
Mm-hmm.
So if
maybe this is the thing.
If Dior was like 10 when Turin was 8, Dior is going to be 18 when Turin's 16. Like they're close.
Maybe this is the thing that he listens to Melian about. Maybe this is part of his reaction to Turin when Turin arrives. And he doesn't process that. Like Melian, because she sees and she understands more clearly than he does. Maybe he hasn't even really processed yet that his own grandson is very close in age to Turin. And Melian counsels him to take Turin as his foster son. Because he's got to realize, like, he's gone from no human shall ever pass the girdle of Melian to I shall, like, grudgingly allow you to marry my daughter to what, so like basically he's to now like by the way, your grandson is gonna be a mortal boy growing up, right? And he doesn't have any idea what that means or what that looks like. I mean, his experience with mortals and mortal life he knows almost nothing about mortals and has experienced almost nothing about mortals. And so that sense of like, so by the way, your grandson is a mortal of almost this exact same age. And for him to realize, like, now it has to be something to do with Turin himself. This isn't the only reason that he takes Turin in, obviously. But one of the reasons that Melian counsels is that, like, you need to get to know mortals. If you're going to understand it at all, your own grandson, you need to understand mortals. And here's a mortal boy.
And your grandson's descendants.
And your grandson's descendants. Yes, exactly. Yes. So yeah, he that could be one of the things that we show him listening to Melian about and being influenced by which leads directly to his positive choice to take Turin in, which of course he also does for Turin himself, and he will have heard of Hurin and Huor from Beleg and Mablung, right? They would have interacted with them, and he would have heard Melian presumably knows about the sacrifice of the men of Dorloman and everything.
And
so
he's personally met Morwen. Well, I don't know about met, but he was in the same room with her.
She was at the wedding, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, between his kinship for Baron, right? So on the one hand, so his taking in of Turin is on the one hand I'm going to undo, like I have chance to do well by one of the house of, but one of Baron's kin, and so I'm going to do well by him instead of doing badly like I did to Baron, right? So there's going to be a kind of sort of,
and that would track with how he's feeling kind of responsible for the Silmaril quest and all that.
Yes,
well.
yeah, exactly. So that shows his humility there. There would be the connection to his own grandson and his need to, like, his that he had best change his whole attitude towards mortals, because now he's got a whole bunch of mortals in the family. And but then in addition, his desire to honor, Hurin and Morwen. I don't see any reason he can't remember Morwen from the wedding. He's met her. So yeah.
In a very early, like one of the drafts, the honoring Hurin is explicitly a motivation, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Did I remember that correctly?
Yeah. So I think that those three things make up his. I think that the desire to honor Hurin is one that he can kind of add himself, but the Dior one is one he's going to get totally from Melian, and I think that the do better this time when confronted by a child of the House of Beor is could be like half and half, half his own impulse and half Melian's advice as well. So yeah, I like that. Which means, by the way, I think that we can bring Dior in to episode 3, to the childhood episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd like to have Dior. He doesn't have to be there the whole time. Like, it doesn't have to be the three of them growing up together the whole time, because I don't think he lives there permanently. But to have Dior visit during the episode would be good, I think.
How easy is it to travel to Doriath these days from Osirian?
Well, they can get there.
Yeah.
East Beleriand
It does get harder.
Yes, East Beleriand is not exactly safe, but
it's safer than West Beleriand.
But it's safer than West Beleriand, and I think Thingol would send an escort to accompany them back and forth.
Yeah.
So Mablung can personally make sure they get there
That's
okay.
That's just what I was going to suggest. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Just checking.
Besides, by all means, let us get into the habit of having Mablung and a contingent of guards escorting people places sooner rather than later, right? That's one of the things he does, right? So yeah, absolutely. Okay, so no, this is good. I like all of this stuff with Thingol. I think I feel like this, and so we keep the focus primarily positive for Thingol. He does make the one fateful decision to not give the Silmaril back. And maybe we show it. Maybe we show him choosing to build the monument, right? To place the Silmaril in the monument. And maybe we show like that conversation between Melian and Thingol. There's a conversation basically with her saying like, before you do this, I counsel you once again, like, we should return this to the Feanorians, and him.
And maybe in the context of the Nirnaeth, they didn't succeed in getting the Silmarils from Morgoth.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, just think that one through.
Yeah.
I know you're not big on that, but
I don't even think it needs another mission from either of us to hand it back for Melian to connect the dots about.
Well, we haven't even had one yet, so.
Right. Are we going to do letters arriving from the Feanorians? Is that going to be a this season event?
It's definitely going to happen either this season or next season. We have to figure out how that's going to work. I know we had briefly mentioned Galadriel having a diplomatic role between the Feanorians and Doriath.
Yes.
So depending on how that story develops, the letter may happen at a later time instead of immediately. But that letter is definitely going to happen. And the person who pushes to make it happen is going to be Curafin.
Yeah. And we've got to...
it's the same author as the previous letter.
Right. Right. Exactly. And yes, showing that Curafin, like after the failure of the Union of Mithros, Curufin is
Mithros
increasingly in the ascendancy among the Feanorians.
Mithros is no longer calling the shots.
Yeah.
And so that's why the letter from Mithros is not from Mithros.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. But we'll come back in that. I had almost forgotten about the diplomatic connection with Galadriel that we had. That's a good idea. But let's.
I'm glad you like your ideas.
I do. It's always fun to encounter ideas later and be like, "Hey, that's good. Better than the alternative, I guess."
That's happened too. But you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are you so insistent on doing this really dumb thing? Like, Corey, because you told us to.
That happens also, for sure. Yeah. Sometimes that's just a matter of like seeing it in actuality instead of just thinking of it.
Yes.
Right. And then
it's true that the creative process has to have some evolution as it goes. And
in theory, it might have been a great idea, but it doesn't always actually pan out.
As it's playing out, it might not look like what you hoped it would look
exactly.
like.
I think Círdan's girlfriend springs to mind. That was a long time ago.
Boy, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I barely remember that at all.
Season 2, episode 5, I think.
Oh, I remembered.
Wow.
Well, that's the episode where both Círdan and Alway have their mission of connecting Beleriand to Valinor by crossing oceans, and they both are going to like make this happen. So we gave them a mission that was going to last the rest of SilmFilm.
Right.
Like Círdan is still doing this at the end of the third age.
Well, Alway, it did take a break for a little while.
Always on a break.
Yes.
But he was responsible for getting a whole host of Feanorians across that ocean.
He contributed. He contributed. Yeah, for sure.
Against his will.
Okay, so all right, so back to the diplomacy. So then in essence, what we could have at the beginning, like in episode 2, say, we could have Melian anticipating the demands. So she's not alluding to them. She's anticipating the demands. She knows what needs to happen. And so it doesn't have to be, I tell you again. This can be her telling him for the first time that it should be sent back to the Feanorians. And she's going to tell him this as he's planning to put it in the monument. Right. And his reasons for putting it in the monument instead of giving it to the Feanorians. It's interesting because this is an example. I think it's going to be easy to make this Thingol's argument sound totally compelling and Melian's argument sound a little bit nuts, right? Like, what? Give it to the Feanorians? Like, talk about people who don't deserve it, right?
Especially when like the court of Doriath wants the Silmaril to be in the monument.
Yeah.
It's Thingol.
And I think that there are going to be, like, I think our theoretical viewers for our theoretical show, I think a lot of them are going to be are going to be incensed by the idea.
Yes.
Of him giving back the Silmaril.
To Kelgorm and Curufin, whom we last saw riding off on the one horse together right after the... I mean, yeah.
How very dare they?
Yes. Yeah. No, it's an appalling thought. With Curufin and Kelgorm specifically, giving it to them is an appalling thought. Especially if we can build the parallel between the two letters. So that it would be almost like saying yes to the second letter, to the first letter the second time.
Yeah.
You know, like it's the parallel between the Luthien demand letter and the Silmaril demand letter. That's gonna be easy to do, and therefore the refusal of it is going to be perfectly intuitive.
And we do have an actual letter that was written.
Yeah.
Parallel.
Yep.
Like with Curufin's like rhetoric style.
Yes.
And he so he doesn't even send back a response. He just sends back their original letter. This you? Not you doing this again.
What I what I really enjoy about this is that it's very obvious all through the Silmarillion that Thingol's biggest mistake is not listening to his wife, who is like the wisest person he knows.
Yes.
And it's like, well, Thingol, why don't you just do what Melian tells you? You'd be better off. And this is why. Because she might be wise, but her advice doesn't always sound wise. It doesn't always sound like the right thing to do that makes sense for the people or for him and for... She's like, you should do this thing. No, I shouldn't. Like, it
doesn't make intuitive emotional sense at the time.
No,
right.
Well, actually, intuitive. I mean, and this is where she's a Maya. She's not an incarnate, even though she, like this.
I mean,
is alien.
Right.
And we've kind of not really, we haven't really shown that in terms of her failure to understand kind of the psychology of an elf.
Yes.
Versus, and maybe this is a moment where that's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think for all the world it can look, even to the viewers, like Melian is simply wrong about this.
Mm-hmm.
She's being overly prudent, not cowardly per se.
Yes, but like overly calculating, but whatever. Like seriously, Thingol could say and be perfectly correct about the fact that if he did that, if he took the Silmaril, which everyone associates with Luthien, right?
Yeah.
And said, no, instead of like displaying it in the Luthien monument, like for the blessing of all, I'm going to give it to like those jerks. I'm not saying that like the people of Doriath would riot necessarily, but there would be like...
They'd be mad.
There would be very negative public feeling about that.
There's got to be no sense of peril about this. I mean, they've got the girdle up, and the Feanorians have just had this massive military defeat.
Right. What are they going to do about it?
Yeah.
They're not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there isn't even a self-interested incentive, like a self-protection incentive for them to do this, because if the Feanorians don't like it, they can lump it. Like, what are they? Yeah, as you say, what are they going to do about it? So it's in that way, in every way, it's like logically as well as emotionally counterintuitive for Melian's advice here.
Yeah, he could even question her, like, wait, are you telling me the girdle isn't going to be good enough to handle this situation? Like, is the Silmaril somehow negating something?
Right. Are we vulnerable?
And she's like, nah, it's all good. And he's like, then why?
Then how does this make sense?
Like, the one thing that he's like, wait, right. It's like, you might have secret insight on something. I should actually check out and make sure I'm understanding the situation. And even when she explains further, he's like, no. So I like this, because if no one ever understands why Thingol doesn't listen to her, he just looks dumb.
Yeah.
And I recognize he's a very impulsive guy, so he does do things without talking to her, and that is kind of dumb. But this will be the one time we understand why he doesn't listen to her.
Yeah, it's nice. I like it.
And we'll sympathize with him.
Yeah, we'd be totally on his side. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. To try to manipulate the audience into deliberately ignoring the advice of Melian is genius. Like, that's great. So then that way they'll be much less smug when condemning Thingol forever afterwards. Yeah, no, it's great. That's great. I love it. Now it is going to be, I don't want to get into that because what I don't want to get into yet is thinking about what changes with Melian later, like why she doesn't give it back to the Feanorians after Thingol dies, right? But not only is that a season 10 question and therefore not something we need to think about right now, and much can change between now and then, but we don't even know, like, how's Thingol going to die again? Like, we don't even know. Like, we haven't even figured out almost anything about the Ruin of Doriath story, which is...
puts us in good company.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it puts us in good company indeed. Yeah. So, like, we can't possibly know how Melian is going to respond to the Ruin of Doriath until we figure out how on earth the Ruin of Doriath comes about. And that's Season 10, not going to borrow that kind of trouble right now. So, okay. Anyway. All right. So we've talked about why Thingol takes Turin in. And of course, this is going to be a great example of him listening to Melian. And we talked about the 3 reasons why he's going to take Turin in. The question, Marie, that you're asking about what relationship does Thingol have with Turin? My quick answer, Dior has helped me to understand this, right? My answer is like surrogate grandson, or practice grandson. It's like he's
practice grandson is better because
not surrogate,
you would
but
definitely do it wrong.
Yes. Well, I'm not sure Thingol does it wrong.
Do you think he'd dotes on him? Is that
maybe? But I don't know. Dotes can be negative. Right.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, because
I don't mean I don't think he spoils
talking
it.
about giving him too many cookies at bedtime.
Right.
Or...
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
I would like to. So I would want to depict. Again, this is Thingol at his best, right? This season.
Right.
I would like to depict Thingol as I think he does totally right by Turin. I think that he is an awesome,
But also, I mean,
grandpa.
Elves raise their kids fairly. I mean, the kids kind of run around independently, don't they? I
Yeah,
mean,
which will show, right?
And so if Turin is being brought in as being treated as one of the gang, one of the kids of Menegroth, then he's not. Thingol's not going to be there's no helicopter parenting going
right. No, exactly. No, he's not going to be helicopter parenting. He's not going to be spoiling Turin. Again, I in particular, one of the main things I would want to avoid is any hint that Turin's bad choices later are because of his poor upbringing in Doriath, right?
Yeah.
No excuse for that. No scapegoating of Thingol in particular, or anyone else in Doriath in general, for the nurture of Turin. Again, I want him to have a good nurturing there, and for it to be a positive thing, with a few salient exceptions, such as Syros. But yeah, so I think I think that it's...
So that would include good adult role models.
Yeah, good adult role models. One of the primary one of which is Thingol.
And peers.
And peers. Yeah, and his peers would be Nellis and Dior. Right? Who else would be his role models? Beleg's not around. I mean, Beleg is going to be, but he's not around enough to be a constant role model in his time. Mablung?
Mm-hmm. Mablung teaches him to play Doriath chess.
And I would think to fight also. He gets his initial training from Mablung.
We have his Celeborn.
Celeborn. Yes.
From whom he learns statecraft and...
wisdom.
And not wisdom, but persuasion.
Yes.
Because Celeborn thought he was teaching a completely different person.
Yeah. Celeborn, Mablung.
Poor Turin. But yeah, so we'll see Turin as a child for one episode, right?
Yeah.
In Doriath.
Yeah.
So he'll have one episode of being 8 to 16 years old. So he should interact with everybody in the court, at least briefly throughout the episode, and see that we can see that he has positive people that he's had multiple interactions with. We can probably show Cyrus in there just so we know that there's at least one bad apple before he shows up for real. But in general, he'll be the interactions will show that it's an ongoing thing. He doesn't just completely run wild and not know these people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And to show, again, we don't have to show it in much detail, but Ilana, as you're saying, to show that he has good role models who take a constructive interest in him, and that it's a positive environment that he's growing up in. Of course, we want this because we want, we need to build like the bitter irony of like Hurin's accusations when he shows up, right? Like we all need to be remembering how untrue and unfair are the perfectly to him plausible accusations that Hurin is going to be making. Yeah. So okay, no, that's good. But yes, I absolutely think that he is his. He takes him in and treats him like a second grandson, basically, and has that kind of a familial interest in him. Yeah. Okay, let's think about, I'm looking at the cast of characters now.
Well, we got to establish who Nellis is.
Yeah, we do. Is Nellis going to be just a totally random, like, daughter of two random citizens of Doriath? Or is she going to be related to someone important? In its way, I kind of like it for her to be almost anonymous. I mean, it could be really fun to link her in somewhere, but
So I always assumed anonymous because she's just like everyman elf child, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, if we wanted her to be Cyrus's daughter, she could be.
Oh,
Ouch. Well, that certainly gives her testimony weight.
On the other hand, would she actually say that in the testimony if she were Cyrus's daughter?
Well, I mean, again, it would give it weight, right? You know.
Yeah.
But it also kind of not begs the question. That's not how that works. It also kind of makes you wonder, like, who married that guy?
Yeah.
Well, yes.
He's a green elf. He's a green elf who came to Doriath as a refugee at the end of the very first battle in Beleriand back in season 3.
Yeah.
And he's been kind of a self-absorbed, pompous guy from the beginning, and he's now very comfortable with his position in Doriath. Mm-hmm. So did he marry another green elf? Did he marry someone in the court that makes him feel like he's now important? Like, I don't know, Madeline could have a sister, I guess.
Right, something like
we've
that.
never met.
He might kind of...
I'd be more inclined to make her some kind of kin of Mablung, not necessarily a daughter, if she's going to be somehow. Because if Mablung's tutoring Turin and...
That's true. It does make a convenient way for them to meet. Mablung, I mean, if she's like Mablung's niece or something like that, right? Then... Mablung could introduce them. It does one thing that, like, I mean, in the Children of Hurin, like, it doesn't take much effort for Nellis to seem kind of creepy in the Children of Hurin. Like, I'm not saying she necessarily is, or that's like how it definitely should be read, but like, she's just like the creepy girl who like hangs out in the trees, like and watches things, right? Like I kind of like it a little bit better to have that kind of an easy introduction. Like, she's not just a random person that he's met in the woods, right?
Because when you encounter a random elf in the woods, like, this could end very badly for
when you're immortal. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like that whole encounter with fairy situation.
Mm-hmm.
So if he encounters her in a much more mundane scenario where she's vouched for by somebody else that he already knows,
right,
it's less fairy and drama and more just life.
Yes. And one could play up the parallel between like Baron and Luthien and Turin and Nellis. Like, that is a legitimate parallel. Mortal, and
right.
elf
So if he does
woman
just meet her out in the woods,
yeah,
then it would parallel that. Yeah.
Right. And but I don't think especially since the primary function we want Nellis to serve essentially in the narrative of this season is to illustrate the growth differences. Right.
Right. Turin grows up and she doesn't.
And she doesn't. So in other words, we're wanting to, like, one of the whole points is that Nellis is going to be sustained in sexual immaturity throughout the season, and so therefore I think we don't want to go there in any way.
Okay, because I was gonna say say that it occurs to me that Nellis could kind of like imagine a scenario where she becomes Luthien,
right?
Like, and
Sure.
this crazy story about her.
She could have like an immature, childish kind of fantasy about this. Yes.
Yeah.
And that could be one of the tragedies, is that she sees the separation of their destinies as they grow older, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that she will realize is like, and again, it's not that she isn't there yet, but it's, you know, it's not strange for children to imagine that kind of thing, that like, you know, one day we will grow up and get married. And anyway, so like but the reality being born in on her increasingly, that like that cannot happen. That is not in the cards here.
Because later on, Turin's going to kind of barely remember her. Yeah.
And he's going to die of old age before she reaches sexual maturity.
Well,
you know,
but,
pretty much. You know,
that sort of, you know, like, you know, that he grew up and, you know, left her behind, whereas she didn't because she's not grown up yet. That,
right.
You know, we can.
She's a little Tinkerbell.
I was gonna say it's like inverse Peter Pan.
Yeah,
it's what it is.
Well, no, I'm actually thinking of Tinkerbell and Hook.
Okay, I was thinking of Tinkerbell and Peter, but
yeah. No, no. I mean, Tinkerbell in the film Hook.
Yeah.
Because he grows up, and she never stopped being this tiny person who's always been in love with him.
In the film Hook, yes. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Agreed.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So, okay. So we definitely do not want to emphasize the Baron and Luthien, the potential Baron and Luthien parallel. So instead, let's have it be a prearranged play date between like Turin and Mablung's niece by Mablung, right? He can introduce them. Yeah.
And if we do want to bring in the Luthien thing at any point, it could be Nellis's reaction or response to this memorial that gets set up.
Sure.
So she can look at it, and then if she has any weird thoughts about the future, they can happen there. But that scene could be after Turin has grown up and left her behind, and she's wandering around Doriath going, oh, I guess that's not what my future looks like now. Like she could already have realized that's not going to happen by the time we introduce the possibility.
Yes.
And she could be, I mean, the introduction could be, there's a whole group of elf children and she's one of them. And Turin and her form a special friendship out of that group. So it doesn't have to be, here's one elf child that you're going to be friends with. But so we can see like there was something that, you know, drew them together to be friends at the time.
You know, it's going to be
that way it's not just a misstep on the adults in the room's part.
You know what's going to be really fun is going to be Nellis and Nienor in season 9. But anyway, just noting that's going to be fun. We don't have to think about that now. But
I don't want to think about Nienor at all. Actually,
I understand.
I want to just.
I understand.
But Morwen and Nienor will surely want to talk to the people in Doriath who knew Turin and learn more about him. So I think,
and Nellis would certainly be drawn to
encountering Nellis would make sense at that point. Right. So I think that is a season 9 thing that will happen.
Yeah, we'll get there. We don't have to worry about that right now. Okay. Yeah, I like, so by the way, the reason that I like Mablung best as her relative, if she's going to be related to somebody, is that I like the Mablung's role at the end. You know, how he slays with his tidings, one that he loved. I really want to make that hit harder. Like I really want to. This is why Mablung Beleg is number 1, obviously, as far as connections with Turin, but Mablung is my number 2 for that reason. Like I want that to really hit. Celeborn, that's fun. There's nothing not to love about that. But Mablung to be his second. Also thinking about Mablung's role in the trial and everything else, right? To really show Mablung the position that Mablung finds himself in, right? Because of his great, love for Turin as well, that he has been one of his primary role models. Turin is always going to gravitate towards the men of action, right? Like Celeborn is going to be his favorite role model, even if he's awesome to him. He's gonna be drawn to Mablung and Beleg because they're the warriors, right? I mean, that's Turin. That's in Turin's blood, right? He's not gonna.
Right.
So Mablung's niece, I like that as Mablung's niece. Okay, so thinking through our cast of characters here, Melian. We've talked about Melian a great deal, but we haven't answered the question, Marie, that you asked here. How much does she understand Turin's curse? Now, one of the things I think that we don't do, that we avoid doing, and therefore keep ourselves in good company, is avoid talking about the curse very much, or certainly explaining much about the curse and how it works. There is the sort of implication that he is sheltered from Morgoth's malice while he's in Doriath. We could make that entirely passive. Like, Melian doesn't have to be cognizant of that in order to have done, like, that can be just a passive effect of him being within the girdle. Or we could, if we wanted to, choose to have Melian being deliberately protective of him. We could even, in the most extreme version of this, I'm not advocating for this necessarily, but the most extreme version of this would be Turin arrives, right? And comes before Melian, and she does something to him, touches him on the forehead or kisses him on the forehead or something like that. And like basically it's he has come into the land of Faerie, and the Queen of Faerie is bestowing her blessing of protection upon him. And so long as you remain within these forests, no evil, all evil intent shall be, diverted from you. Like, that would be the most extreme version of, having Melian playing that she blesses him in particular. And I don't hate that idea entirely. I think it might be a little bit too on the nose to actually do that explicitly, but yeah. So there's that on the one end, and it's just a passive result of the girdle, and nobody even thinks about it or is aware of it on the other hand.
The curse applies to Morwen and Nienor as well. So if we show Melian bestowing something particular on Turin, we'd need her to do the same for them when they arrive. If the implication is they're protected because they're in the girdle, the whole, whenever the family members of the House of Hurin are in the girdle, they're protected. That kind of makes it easier to just kind of imply that that's what's going on, probably.
Right. Well, what the situation we have to show this is Hurin looking out from the chair, because he can see what Morgoth can see in theory, and so he should be able to see Morwen and Nienor in Dorloman, but he probably can't see Turin and Doriath.
Right. So
by omission, he doesn't see what's happening in Doriath, and that's how we know that Doriath is doing something special.
Right.
I don't know that we need to have Morgoth specifically complain about not being able to find Turin or not being able to do what he wants there, but that's how we know that the girdle's doing.
Yeah, and it's beautifully indeterminate also, because not only can Morgoth not show him Turin in Doriath, he wouldn't want to, because everything that happens in Doriath is happy. Right, he would be showing him.
It's not.
And well, no, for the family of Hurin, 100% of what happens to them in Doriath is happy. Until Morwen decides to leave, other than their own decisions, right? They're blessed in Doriath. They're sheltered and loved in Doriath, and so Morgoth wouldn't want. So basically, there's still, for the viewer, the question: is Morgoth just omitting it because he doesn't want Hurin to see that? or can he not, is he in fact ignorant of what's going on there entirely? And I agree. I don't think we have to resolve that question, really. Do we have her, does she know about the curse, Melian? Can she see it on him? Would she say something about it to Thingol? I mean, I can imagine a little exchange, right? After Turin comes, right? And afterwards, her being like, there is a curse that lies upon him, like, or the evil will of Morgoth, rests upon this child and his family, to which Thingol can like say something wonderful, like, the more reason to take him in and like love him and care for him and protect him then, or whatever. But like, I wouldn't be against Melian perceiving that there's that, like, the malice of Morgoth follows this child or something like that. But it's not essential.
I mean, if she says something like there's a darkness follows him.
Right.
That also leaves it open as to, like, his homeland has been overtaken. Right.
Yeah.
He's had to flee and he's left his mother's behind, and so it could be not a specific curse, but
right. And she could be having some kind of foresight of his choices to come, like his bad choices to come as well. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we're all kind of like fine with the audience kind of always questioning, did this bad thing happen because Turin's a dope, or did this happen because of Morgoth?
Yes.
That's why we say it's a darkness.
It's a darkness. Yeah.
Right.
Curse, and the audience can make up their own minds as to what that darkness is.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I like that. I think she should be aware of it, but that there's an issue here, that there's something special about Turin in not a good way. But again, I really do like that as the opportunity for Thingol to look even better, right? To accept him nevertheless, and to be determined to be good to him.
Especially if Melian is coming off kind of ungracious at that moment. Like, we've just seen Thingol go through this revolution in his attitudes about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're going to be suggesting that Melian is wrong about his resistance to giving up the Silmaril, what better way to do that than to kind of send up Melian as, not considering the incarnate cost.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because, ultimately, maybe it would have been better for Thingol if he hadn't taken in Turin. But that doesn't make that the right thing to do in the moment.
Right. Yeah. No, I like it. I like lots of things about it. Because her caution and him determining to keep Thingol could also sound like Thingol not listening to his wife. It's not exactly that case, but anyway. Now, okay. I think that's great. So, we're running low on time. I don't think
we always.
I'm looking back over our list. The only things we haven't talked about are the two big things, which are Beleg and Galadriel. Let's talk about Beleg. That surely we can finish this time, even if we don't finish Galadriel. What do we want to do with Beleg? We want to bring him in. He needs to visit. Like, we need to have Beleg visiting during, like, episode 3 when Turin's a kid. Turin he trains with Maglor, Mablung, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I will never not make that mistake periodically. I will never cease to make that mistake periodically, that misspeaking. he trains with Mablung as he goes through. But Beleg is like his hero, right? Like Beleg is who he wants to be when he grows up. And I think there's got to be something about Beleg being off on the frontier that is what attracts him here.
Yeah, there's something quite romantic for Turin about
Yes.
Beleg.
Because Mablung is a dude, but he's a domestic dude. He stays around the court, right? You know, he doesn't go out there. He will lead the armies when there is a need, but how many times has that happened, right? You know, whereas Beleg's out there.
Turin's viewpoint is mortal. So if it didn't happen in front of him, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. Yeah, exactly.
In the near knife.
Mablung basically does nothing, essentially. Like he's a good guy. He's a great fighter. He knows a lot. He's learned a lot from him, but he's not who he wants to be when he grows up. Beleg, the one who's out there doing stuff, is the one he wants to be when he grows up. So we need to have him meet, rugged and, blood-stained Beleg when Beleg comes back to court or whatever, and not necessarily literally, but you know what I mean? Like, that's what he's going to admire.
You could ask Beleg for stories of what happened.
Yeah. Well, he certainly would, because Beleg is the closest thing to contact with the outside world that he has.
Yeah.
And Beleg is even going in the direction of Dorloman, though only a small percentage of the way, right? But it's out there. So what's going on in Dimbar exactly? What's Beleg up to?
But this is how we can find out, because Beleg will tell stories.
Beleg will have to tell stories. Yeah, exactly.
Also, maybe Mablung's unwilling to tell stories. Like, they just went through this horrendous war, and maybe Mablung's not willing to tell a child about his experience in the Near Ninth, whereas Beleg is a little bit more willing to do that.
Yeah, I would think so. Mablung, I'm sure, would tell him good things about his father.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that would be another thing, another reason that Mablung would be like a close tie of Turin's as a kid, because Mablung knew his dad. Right? Yes. He's the only one, since Beleg's not there, he's the only one there who's really met his... No, Celeborn was there too, wasn't he? Didn't we bring Celeborn up?
Yes.
Okay, so Celeborn's met his dad too. But, Celeborn's not a warrior, so he's less cool. So, yeah. But okay, so Beleg, why is Beleg in Dimbar? Is he helping to protect he's helping to protect Brethil? Essentially? Oh, yeah, Solana has to go. I would think it has to be that, right?
Yeah, so Beleg's always had friendship with the men of Brethil, and he considered Brethil part of the marches until they moved in there. So he would still try to be helping them out and protecting the borders from orc incursions and such like that.
Right.
But he's not retaking the, Tulsirian area either.
Right. So he then not only is somebody who is actually out there in the world fighting the fight, but he's fighting the fight to defend humans, like being a friend of humans, which would be doubly, like, that's what Turin wants to do, right?
Right.
So this is yet more reasons for Turin to sign up with Beleg as soon as possible, to get out there and make a difference for humans against orcs and continue the fight. Beleg's attitude towards Turin. So there's lots of reasons to see why Beleg would be, from Turin's earliest childhood, his, like, optimum role model, right? Beleg is who he wants to be when he grows up. What is Turin to Beleg?
Once he starts training him, he's going to recognize that Turin is a really quick pupil.
Right.
Like, he's good.
He's going to perceive that Turin is, like, because Turin is, in fact, one of the greatest mortals ever.
Right. Like,
yes.
and he's
almost the Feanor of mortals.
He's the complete package.
He's the total
There you
package.
go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like Fingolfin is more like Hurin and Turin is more like Feanor.
Yeah.
One
Turin is
could
like
say.
Feanor, clearly.
Yeah, so Beleg is impressed by him once he's older. When he's a little kid, though, I don't think Beleg sees his future.
No.
In 8-year-old Turin.
He will honor him, certainly, as the son of Hurin. Like, that will mean a lot to Beleg. And, of course, also, he is intimately connected through his family to the people of Brethil, whom Beleg knows well. In fact, wouldn't he have known? I mean, wouldn't he have known the Haladin parents or grandparents?
Seems like that is likely.
Yeah, he would have, right? So like, he would know his family, not just Hurin, but he would know his family from a couple generations back among the Haladin.
Was Beleg at the double wedding?
That's the question I was thinking of too.
There were elves there. I'm sure.
Then he must have been.
Well, except he's
Not
from Doriath.
necessarily Doriath.
I mean, I said there were elves there. I meant
there are elves and then there are elves.
Right. I meant there were Noldor there.
Right, but there are. I mean, but he's around Brethil. I mean, I was wondering the same thing too. Even if he wasn't at the wedding, surely he would have seen them and known them.
Known the people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes. Yeah, he was friends with Haleth.
Right.
Haleth was an awesome fighter.
Right.
And now he's willing to become friends with Turin. I would say he doesn't anticipate that at the beginning, but he does want to extend the yes, I knew your relatives and they were good people and you also must be good people.
Yeah. Yes. So he will admire, and he'll be in this sense kind of attached to or interested in Turin because he knows his dad and his grandparents and but that doesn't mean he's going to take any particular interest. I think we can delay his relationship with Turin really until his interest can be kind of polite in Turin while Turin is a child. And then he accepts Turin in honor of his father and his, when he wants to sign up with him, when he takes him on at 16, he will do so largely because maybe he will see, Mablung might recommend him, right? It's in their time together in Dinbar that he's going to come to love him more. When he goes after him, though, I agree, Marie, surely he is going to admire him as a prodigy and appreciate the fact that he is a prodigy. To perceive that. But there's going to be more than that, right? Like the devotion that Beleg shows to him.
Yeah.
In both of his trips out from Doriath to find him.
It seems almost unreasonable.
Yes. Yeah. So what direction do we see that relationship growing in? The relationship between Beleg and Turin while they are together. Is there... First question. Does he see him more like a brother or more like a son?
The way that he acts makes it seem that he sees him... Actually, if he sees him more like a son, then that explains the unreasonableness.
It would. If he embraces the role of foster father, essentially, or surrogate father, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, because then it makes perfect sense. You would do anything.
Yeah.
For your kid, like even there's There's another.
There's a lot of even if for what Beleg ends up doing.
Yes.
Right. Finwë. Finwë is a good example of this. The way that he goes off to Formenos. I mean, he's got his own reasons where he feels unkinged by the Valar.
Yeah.
But that he goes off into
there to
exile.
support Feanor.
Right.
Yeah.
He goes into exile with Feanor, which, like, Feanor was wrong. Right?
Yes. Clearly
You know,
wrong. Yes.
Right. And I don't think that Finwë doesn't see that.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. And it's an interesting parallel because, of course, Beleg is going to see that Turin is wrong. So
Right.
that's a really interesting parallel. I hadn't thought of that, but the more I think about that, the closer that parallel seems.
Yeah.
And I think perhaps for similar kind of reasons, that is surely one of the reasons that Finwë goes with Feanor is because he doesn't want to give up on Feanor, because he's still trying to influence Feanor positively, right? That's going to fail spectacularly with Feanor, obviously, as it will fail with Turin largely, though less spectacularly than with Feanor.
And I think that we kind of did go there in the Formenos episode. And Marie, you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but given that you wrote that episode. But yeah, it seems to me that leaning into the parent angle kind of alleviates some of the oddness
Yes.
of their relationship.
Yeah, the thing that Finwë ends up doing in the Formenos episode is he's trying to talk to Nerdanel as if, like, that between the two of us we can, like, manage Feanor.
Right.
And she keeps trying to tell Finwë, like, we're way past whatever you think is happening.
We're way past
Yes.
management.
Yes.
Yeah, like I don't need marriage counseling advice from you, father-in-law. I need you to stop the war that your son is starting.
Twice married father.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, father-in-law who possibly has the worst possible record for giving marital advice of any elf ever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I would accept Finwë's advice before I'd accept Eowl's advice, but the
Okay.
point remains.
Well,
Fair.
The point
okay.
remains. The point remains. Finwë's missing spectacularly how far off the deep end Feanor is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think Bella can have some blind spots about Turin as well.
What if
And that's fine. But he's not as blind.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting. 80 Perdo on YouTube says it's not that odd in the story, with few exceptions, to know Turin is to love him. That's part of the problem.
Sure, but why? Right? Like,
Right.
he needs to. There needs to be something about him other than the fact that he's gorgeous and good at everything. Like, who wants to hang around people like that?
Well, I suppose if you're an elf, it's a little different.
Well, you
but still.
know, it's funny because, like, a lot of people do want to hang around people like that. I just don't get it.
Understood. So, okay. What if, I'm coming back, Marie, to the Prodigy thing. What if Beleg has some sort of foreboding, some kind of a destined future for what if he thinks that Turin is like a serious hope for the future, that like some mighty thing, he is destined to accomplish some mighty thing. Now he loves him like that doesn't explain why he loves him so much. I'm saying this in addition to the father thing, right? That this is one of the other reasons why he is so invested in Turin, even to staying with him when Turin refuses to come back to Doriath, because he doesn't want. Because in a sense, you see this with Beleg, right? He's abandoning Beleg is abandoning his job.
Yeah.
And instead, he's just saying, like, I'm going to trade all of that for the sake of investing in Turin. So he's got to believe that isn't just irrational in the sense of, like, I care for him so much that I am going to do that for his sake and give up this stuff for his sake. But also, like, he's worth it. Like, he's got to believe that he's worth it in that sense. And if he does, I mean, he's going to perceive that Turin is a prodigy. He's going to perceive that this is someone who has the ability and perhaps and very likely the destiny to accomplish amazing things, which is, of course, perfectly true of Turin. He is going to accomplish amazing things. They're not all going to be good. Most of them are not, but he is going to accomplish amazing things.
But they are amazing.
They are amazing.
Yeah,
Yes. I mean, but yeah, I mean, I would think that Beleg would have some sense that like a high destiny is laid upon this child.
Yes, I think that's what you can see about somebody like Turin or someone like Feanor is there's
greatness.
There's greatness and there's destiny, and he's gonna do something really important.
Absolutely. And this also thinking back to
necessarily
good. Yeah, exactly. Thinking back again to the issue we were discussing about the people of Doriath still coping with the Baron and Luthien situation. To Beleg, this could be like, okay, this is, you know, I'm going to get in on the ground floor of the next Baron, right? Like, this kid is is one of Baron's kin, and is like, again, Baron had a great destiny laid upon him. We can see that even in retrospect. We can see, I mean, he met Baron, right? You know, when Baron came to court. So like, you know, even in retrospect, before they accomplished what they accomplished, I could see that a great destiny was laid upon Baron, that he was part of one of the great tales of Middle Earth, right? And he's going to perceive that of Turin also perfectly accurately, right? Yeah. That this is one of the other. This is like, and so for him, it's almost like potentially a Baron do-over, right? Almost.
I'm wondering.
Evan says
it would almost be pretty great if he would feel like he's preventing something that happened to Baron from happening to Turin, but he can't stop him from dying.
No. But what he can, like, what?
Beleg was there when Baron faced Karkaroth in Doriath.
Yes.
So Beleg was there when Baron died.
Yes.
And if he's by Turin's side in battles, he might be able to save him from the monster in a way he could not save Baron.
Yes.
Seeing as how Karkaroth was kind of, you know, hard to stop.
Yes.
Well nigh impossible.
Yes. And indeed. As Evan has added, to he's worth it, would for Beleg probably also be added some bit of I can fix him also.
Yeah. Right.
When he's starting to make bad choices.
Right. Like, he's just young. He's just inexperienced.
And he needs
an older,
yes,
responsible person who can see the big picture to guide him in the right direction. He'll
30-year-old child elf wouldn't also be doing this?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And as A.D. Pirtle is pointing out, a mighty doom could go one way or the other. And yes, I like the idea. By the way, it would be wouldn't it be fun for Beleg to, I mean, to say to Turin, or in Turin's hearing, that a mighty doom is laid upon him. And this is one of the things that leads him to name himself Turinbar later on, right? You know, that like Beleg himself almost kind of plants the seed of Turin's sense of his own destiny later on. I mean, Turin's sense of his destiny, like we need to deal with that, right? His sense both of, you know, the Turin's own juggling between the curse that is laid upon him and the sense of his own mighty destiny and his ability to accomplish something great. And that latter, I think he gets from Beleg. And Beleg sees it. By the way, when and how does Turin find out about the curse upon him? Because he needs to.
Yeah. How are we going to do that?
I mean, Glaurung seems like a great person to kind of deliver that.
But see, Glaurung's words will have more weight if they reinforce something Turin is already afraid of.
Right. Well, he can sit like once he's self-exiled from Doriath and he's killed Beleg and he's brought this on Doriath. He can already kind of be primed for that.
But he's got to know that it's attached to Hurin.
Yeah, because he very specifically never goes by his own name after he leaves Doriath.
Yes.
So he already knows that being the son of Hurin is a problem.
Yes.
No. Does he?
I think so.
He thinks he's a murderer.
Yeah, that's true. And so he's like, bloodstained son of ill fate.
Yeah.
But
but
and
he never calls himself son of Hurin after he leaves Doriath,
and when Gwyndor outs him, he's upset explicitly because by naming him the son of Hurin, he's calling his fate down upon him. Right. So he knows that his fate is attached to the son, to being the son of Hurin.
Which is kind of why I asked, how much does Melian know? Because Melian could say something that he hears, and that would be a way to explicitly tell him.
Melian
for her to accidentally let that slip in his hearing seems un-Melian of her.
I don't mean accidentally. I just mean if she knows she can say something.
Yeah.
Or not. I mean,
it would make her seem less sympathetic, which seems to be a thing we're doing right now.
Poor Melian. Yeah.
How did it happen that trying to make Thingol look good this season, we've also simultaneously decided to make Melian look bad?
Well, I think that Melian's grief at losing Luthien can explain her bad mood for the entire season.
Right.
In fact, the rest
she's
of her
still
life.
having trouble coping. One can hardly blame her.
Hang on. Okay. When she, oh gosh, it's Bad Moon would have to be involved if she were to object. Not exactly object. If she were to raise concerns about Thingol fostering Turin in front of Turin.
Yes.
That seems an incredibly ungracious thing to do.
Yeah, that's pretty insensitive, yeah.
No, let's not do that.
Okay.
What I was thinking more was along the lines of, okay, so the Silmaril is in Doriath, and the Silmaril is like giving healing and good things to the people of Doriath, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Melian could tell Turin something like, sorry, that's not going to be good enough to help you.
Yikes.
Right. Well, I'm just thinking, like, she can warn him. I mean, like, warn him.
There can be a warning.
Yeah.
And the healing you need is not something within my power to grant you. I don't mean she has to be a jerk to him. I just mean that she could acknowledge that she can't fix what's wrong because there's a power greater than her involved in what's been placed upon him. And Turin's not a complete idiot. He knows what power greater than Melian causes evil in Beleriand.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about this? How about this? Okay, wait. He's 16. He wants to leave and go outside the girdle and fight with Beleg. And she says, okay, you can do that, but you need to make an informed decision here. Because I know that the malice of Morgoth has been laid upon your father and his family. And if you leave the girdle, then it may find you, right?
I do like that better.
Yes, much better than the child. I didn't want her to do this when he first
when he's a
got
kid.
to
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's not okay.
So that
Yeah. Warning him, if you step outside,
you've got to know. Yeah, like
there's something waiting for you out there.
Yes.
And he's going to be all mad about it because that's when he finds out that it's been applying to his mom and little baby sibling the whole time, and he didn't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's going to take it as
he'll have a little grievance against Melian.
Yeah. But it won't sound like she's being a jerk.
Yes.
Despite his reaction to the news.
Yeah.
Well, if she has known this whole time and she didn't tell him, that can't. I mean, it doesn't make her a jerk, but it does help aid this. Like, she's not getting it.
Right. But at the same time, like, what is she like? When is she going to tell him? His 10th birthday?
Sure.
His 12th birthday? Like, and why? Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's an understandable choice on her part to wait until he is
until it's relevant.
mostly grown up,
and
B, trying to leave Doriath.
Yeah.
That's when she shares the news.
Yeah, as long as
And
he's not going anywhere, it doesn't really matter that much.
Right.
And I can understand him being mad that he didn't know earlier, but yeah, what was he going to do about it?
Yeah.
And also, when you have knowledge that nobody else around you has, sharing it indiscriminately is not always the wisest thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yes.
Melian does not tell everyone everything she knows all the time. That's not in her character.
No,
That's true.
no, that would be a bad idea. Yeah.
So her waiting until
It was
she
relevant.
thinks-
Yeah.
until she thinks, oh, I should share this with you now so
Yeah.
that you make good choices. Like, that's... And
Yeah.
that would explain why he never uses his real name outside the boundaries of Doriath from
Yes.
that point.
Yep. Yep.
So we have to add another name for Turin. He has to have a nickname he goes by in the field with Beleg.
Yeah. Yeah. We do.
Some call
He shall
sign.
take on him a
It's not
traveling
his
name
actual
when he
name.
goes out with the
Shadow. Something really teen angsty like Shadow.
He's
No, or
right,
like
he's 16.
but he would be, but his hearing about the curse would put him in defiant mood, right?
Yeah.
So he would be his like teenage melodramatic name would be something like Shadow Slayer or like
Right,
Shadow
yeah.
Defier or like I'm
Yes.
the smiter of shadows, right? Like that's
He certainly would.
I think where he would go. Yeah.
The curse
Okay.
breaker.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not
He's
yet.
Not,
Yeah, it's too close.
he's got to be teenagery about
yeah.
it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I like the Shadow Slayer idea.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. Oh, I love that idea. We have to give Turin another name because he doesn't have enough. We're actually running into a shortage of Turin names. That's fantastic.
I feel like Alan's sister will really enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent.
It'll be
Okay.
right up his alley.
So we don't have time to talk about Galadriel, but that's okay because our next stop was going to be the Isle of Balar anyway. So we had some very specific and very Turin focused story discussions to be having today. Basically, next, instead of just thinking about that, basically we're going to be talking about the elves whose story we don't really know, right? We're going to be talking about, we've talked a little bit about Círdan and Gil-galad, right? So we'll fill that out more and talk more specifically about how that's going to fit into the episode outline. But I think we can bring Galadriel in there too, to think about, yes, important elves who are not centrally involved in the plot, but whom we need to figure out what they're doing. And we have some clear ideas, groundwork for Círdan and Gil-galad, and which we can flesh out. But then we can brainstorm with Galadriel, because I kind of feel like the time has come for us to think a little bit longer term with Galadriel. Like we need to know where she's. I mean, we could just have her recouping and hanging out in Doriath this season, but I think that's a waste. We need to make a plan for where she's going to go, and bigger picture what she's going to be doing. So we don't have to map out her whole life from now through the end of the Second Age or anything, but we should think about it. Okay, so Galadriel's destiny, along with Círdan and Gil-galad's doings here in season 8, will be our focus for next time. After that, we still have the Feanorians to talk about.
Yeah. So
Though
if
they may be involved in the Galadriel discussion.
I was going to say, if we don't get Galadriel fit into next session, then we can do Galadriel and any remaining elves, including Feanorians, in the one after that.
Because I do like the idea. She is the logical ambassador to send to the Feanorians, to have interacting with them. She has the least bad relationship with the Feanorians of any of the major players in Doriath. So,
and the most recent.
yes.
So she has both those things going for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though she personally hated Feanor.
Yes.
At this point, I'm sure the Sons of Feanor also personally hate Feanor.
Some of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Not all of them, but some.
I think Mithros has had some opinions about Dad for a long time, though.
Well, he spoke up about it
Mm-hmm.
in his dad's lifetime. The rest of them didn't, but may have felt that way.
Yeah.
Some of them. Some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Okay. All right. So we know basically where we're headed. So that's what we're going to be focused on next time. And next time will be March 18th at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So in another 2 weeks, proceeding in a normal and orderly schedule here for the next time or two, which is fun. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. And tune in as we resolve more. But we're getting, it's starting to feel like the downward slope of the pre-production process. There's still more things that we have to do, but as far as the story building is concerned, I feel like we're in the home stretch here. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Marie and Nick, and of course Alana, who had to go early for professional reasons. It's tomorrow morning for her, so she's got work stuff to do. But anyway, thanks everybody, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening, and Godspeed.